Hey there, welcome back. This is Pixelazy here with another leg of my flight around the world. I am in Iturup, which is a disputed town, I guess, on a disputed island just north of Japan. And we're taking off from this little volcanic island in the wee hours of the morning. Local time on flight 124, which is actually leg 25. Of my trip around the world. And today I am actually planning on landing in Hokkaido, Japan. It's been a long haul, a lot of long haul flights. We've got about 200 miles until we're at our destination, but about 120 of that, 130 of that is over these disputed islands.
Tower Lazy Lima 124, continue for west departure.
And once we get to the last little stretch of ocean, we'll be crossing over and flying over actually a fairly substantial piece of northern Japan today. You'll have to pardon my got a little tickle in my throat. I'll probably have a few little coughs today. Family's at home. Yet another day we were supposed to be out traveling. Not on a plane, we were just going to go out to the mountains, but the kid is actually at home from school because her school is shut down from the pandemic. There's a case at her school. Pretty sure I don't have it. I'm just, the air turned dry. It snowed this morning, and I tend to get a little bit of dry throat when the weather changes abruptly, so you'll have to excuse me for that. But as we take off here, it's late afternoon where I am, but early morning over north of Japan. I will check in maybe when I get a little further along. But you can see there's a little bit of civilization here, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more small towns. We're going to start seeing a lot more, I hope, other players. I haven't seen another player in 3 or 4 legs now. As you can see, we've got some distance to fly, 206 nautical miles, headed almost directly southwest. It looks like partial clouds, some great viewing weather. I'll try and keep it low so we can get a little bit of that scenery. See you in a bit. We're cruising. I've been hanging around 2,500 feet, 2,600 feet for the last half hour or so, the last 45 miles. As you can see, we're still over these islands. We passed some interesting scenery. If you've been watching my other videos, you'll know that these islands and the peninsula before it, and then down into Japan, all the way to Hawaii, make up the Pacific Ring of Fire. So what we actually have is, what I've researched anyways, is a chain of volcanoes. And Microsoft Flight Simulator certainly doesn't disappoint. In my videos, I like to remind everybody that, first of all, I'm not a pilot. since I've started recording these, I've got a few people who subscribed, and that's pretty amazing. I wasn't sure if anybody was ever going to watch these or be interested in them, but a handful of people have been and been commenting and giving me great advice. I'm not a pilot. I've never actually flown a real plane. In fact, I've never actually been in a Cessna. I have this plane that I'm flying, but I don't know if it's something that I'll ever end up doing, but it's certainly been an experience learning how at least a virtual plane works, and so far I've covered quite a bit of this simulated planet, going from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, leaving almost 2 months ago, and flying out to the west coast of Canada, up to Alaska, across the Bering Sea into Russia, down through the Kamchatka Peninsula, and now through these Kuril Islands on my way to Japan. And should be landing in Japan proper today. And if you've been watching and providing some of that advice on how to maintain some steady level flight and how to use flaps and trim, as I do this in real time, I've had to kind of wing some of it and figure it out on my own. In some of my practice flights, I've gone up and put it in autopilot just to see what autopilot does, to try and understand how autopilot handles level flight. And usually it immediately climbs up to about 8,500 feet and sets the flaps to a certain level and sets the trim to a certain level and the throttle to a certain level. So that's giving me some good information on how to do it. But I'm learning. It's been a slow learning process, but I'm getting there. And having flown almost 50 hours on this trip, I think I'm starting to figure it out. And certainly I'm starting to get a sense of the places that I've visited, at least from the air. I mean, these are not places that I've ever been. I don't expect I'll ever have an excuse to go to the Kuril Islands. But I can say I've flown over them in real time in Flight Simulator. And if you saw this game when it came out, the simulator when it came out, I know people don't like calling it a game, but if you saw the simulator when it came out, it's a simulator of the entire planet. And that's something that, until this tool was not really commercially available, and particularly during this time, and today, like I said earlier, the family sort of locked down, can't travel. In particular, my daughter's in isolation. Obviously can't get out into the real world right now. I technically can't even really leave my house right now, so seeing a virtual world is better than seeing no world. I've veered a little off course. You can see from my my course plot, the pink line is kind of disappearing into the corner of the screen, but I wanted to swoop through and check out these two volcanoes. I was on the website poking around because I could see them on the relief map. You can't really see them there, but I have another map on my other monitor of my GPS course, and clouds cleared off a little bit. You can see they've moved off to the east, and sort of see that little peak I was near way back, almost directly above the left wing there, wing that's on the left side of the screen. where I made my last recording. But these two volcanoes, according to a website, volcanodiscovery.com, these are on the island of Kunashir in the Kuril Islands of Russia. And the lower one, now on the right-hand side of the screen, is called Smirnov volcano. And it's a active volcano. And the larger one on the left side of the screen is Tia Tia, which is the Chachadake in Japanese. And according to this website, is one of the most impressive volcanoes in the Kuriles. It's a symmetrical stratovolcano located on the northeast end of Kunashir Island, which is where we've just kind of crossed over onto this last of the islands north of Japan. This is the last volcano, or the last island before we hit Japan. Next time we cross over water, we'll be in Japan. And it's located on the northeast end of Kunashir Island, 70 kilometers from Hokkaido, Japan. The volcano has a 2.1 by 2.4 kilometer wide caldera. And what it says, it's got a fairly extensive entry. I won't read it all, but it erupted in 1981 was the last time it erupted. So we're in a real active volcano situation here. I obviously don't think it's going to erupt while we're flying by today. But apparently, I was looking through Wikipedia on this island as well, and there's a flight ban. Flights from Japan are not allowed to fly to this island, so which makes sense. It's a disputed island between Japan and Russia. Russia sort of claims it officially, and Japan sort of claims it historically. And what it does say about this volcano is that it kind of resembles Mount Vesuvius in Italy. It's got multiple cones, so it's kind of an interesting thing to see as we leave the last of the volcanic islands and enter Japan. And I mean, we're going to see Mount Fuji, and we're going to see a few other things, I'm sure, and I'm not sure what we'll see when we hit Japan, but I thought I'd share that, and I thought I'd fly off course a little bit and have to head a little more directly south after I get through these volcanoes. But thought it was worth checking out. And I'll check back in a few minutes. That, my friends, as you can see, we just crossed that orange line on our navigation map. And we've entered Japanese airspace. And that up ahead, just off my nose, is the coast of Japan, northern Japan. We have left the disputed islands, the disputed Kuril Islands behind. We're now over open water again. And within a few minutes, we'll be over Japanese soil. So there you have it. Yet another country. Yet another tick on the map. We've been to Canada, the United States, Russia, and officially, as of a few seconds ago, we are in Japan. Pretty awesome. As you may have noticed, we are now over Hokkaido, Japan, and this is the first Japanese town / city that we've encountered. Not far off the coast, and just maybe 5 miles inland, 10 miles maybe, and Nakashibetsu is where I'm flying over now. I'm at about 2,400 feet and I killed my throttle just a little bit, trying to lose some altitude. I am interested because I know when the developers said they updated the Japanese architecture pack that came with a bunch of landmarks and other updated features. One of the other things they did update was the basic building model. Every sort of, there's regional differences, obviously, in even small-scale architecture. So things like houses and commercial buildings, factories. They're fairly recognizable. Obviously, those are houses down there, but those things have vast differences in what they look like when you're up close and personal. And obviously, you don't want houses that look like they came from North America when you're flying over northern Japan or Europe or Russia. And I noticed the houses in Russia were very utilitarian looking. So I was just curious to fly over this little town now that we've entered Japan and see what there is to see. Obviously, we're going to make some closer sweeps. You can see my shadow down there, very bottom of the screen, kind of zipping over the houses. That's cool. We're a little bit off course, not much. Flying generally in the right direction. The airport I'm looking for is in Kushiro, Japan, which is kind of back on the other coast. If you were to think of, well, Japan is an island. It's a fairly large island. It's a series of islands. And this upper island, the prefecture of Hokkaido, is kind of the upper north part of Japan. And very agricultural, it looks like. Large farming communities, but kind of in the southeast edge of this is the city of Kushiro, which is not only an airport, it is a star airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and one of the latest star airports I've seen since leaving North America. So I picked that one to land at because it was one of the achievements in the simulator. But also I figured it's probably worth seeing if they put a star next to it. That's usually what happened. That's what happened the last time I went to a star airport. I got there and I thought that was an amazingly pretty landscape that we saw. So hopefully we see something similar. And if I don't see anything interesting other than this landscape, which, you know, farmland is really cool, it reminds me of actually near where I live, in Alberta, Canada. And we live in a very agricultural sort of part of the country, and very prairie sort of the country. So this looks very familiar to me. But as I get closer, I will check in again. I've got about 30 minutes and 40 miles flight, and we should be there not too long. See you in a bit. So we've arrived in Kushiro, Japan. According to Wikipedia, this is just a small little coastal town, population about 20,000. On the southwest coast of Hokkaido. The airport is off over there somewhere. I'm just kind of doing a swoop over of the village, the city proper. I'm gonna try and do a north approach. I think the wind is blowing from the north, so I'm still trying to get my sense of where it's going to ask me to land. I assume this is going to be one of those airports, since we're in a larger population, that has ATC on it. Not all airports have that, and that makes sense. You can see I'm about 5 miles away from the airport, and it's over there somewhere. Trying to keep my descent kind of steady, more as a way of having a look out at the scenery than cheating on my landing than anything else. At about 900 feet. I'm going to swoop around and see if I can get a visual on the airport, and then hopefully I get clearance to land. It's been a long time. There we go. It's been a long time since we've been in a significant population center. I'm landing at a lot of middle of nowhere bush airports for quite a while now. And this is one of the first of many, I hope, airports in major population centers as we make our way down through Asia. I was just kind of having a look at Google Maps, kind of plot out my route, and I think what I'm going to do is head down to the south end of Japan over the next few days. I've got obviously some time at home that I can't go anywhere, so I might be doing a few extra flights this weekend. I had taken some time off already to go on a little mini vacation to the mountains, and that is no longer on the table thanks to some pandemic quarantining. But yeah, so that gives me some time to do some flying around Japan. I'm going to head down to Japan, hopefully make it down and see some interesting sights. I'm going to do some shorter haul flights. Enough of these 2.5 hour, 200 and some mile long hauls. I'm going to do more scenic tours of this country. Then head over to Korea. Up through Korea, maybe a fly through North Korea, just because I can. And then down through China, and yeah, we'll go from there. But that's probably my plan for the next month or so, is to spend a good month in here in Korea. Sort of see the landing lights. I'm going to come in at that angle and see what we can do. Hopefully we get clearance to land. We're looking for I'm gonna say like a 30 something in the air on the runway. 32-ish, 34. Oh, we overshot. How do you like that? Let's level back out here. Drop my flaps, lower my trim. Got no clearance to land. We'll see what it says.
Tower, Lazy Lima 1241 miles south to land.
Lazy Lima 124 Kushiro Tower. Make left downwind runway tree 5. Altimeter tree 0.12 and 19er tree at 8.
Fly left downwind runway tree 5, Lazy Lima 124.
There we go.
Lazy Lima 124, you are not cleared to land.
I was not cleared to land, but I am down. So, sorry. Welcome, Japan. I think I'm just going to taxi over to this gorgeous looking airport. And we'll park.
Lazy Lima 124, you are not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
Welcome to Japan. Get off our runway. I have all my settings on AI for landing clearance, so I'm going to blame that on the AI.
118.05 Lazy Lima 124.
There we go. I'm going to tour you around this airport. Looks like a pretty cool airport. Kushiro Airport. I'll take a picture of that. Whoa, almost hit that guy. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'm going to be doing some more Japanese flights. If you bared with me so far on these long, boring trips across vast stretches of Russia and North America, I think things are going to get a little more interesting from here. So, thanks for coming along for the trip. We'll see you next time.